Many students, despite the laws banning schools and phones in schools, still use their phone for not only games and social media, but communication, healthcare services, accessing Wi-Fi and education. Do you think students should be taught about this technology, and should students be able to use their phones at school?
I'm going to throw this one over to you, Amarley. What do you think about that?
Well, from my experiences at school, in the junior school and in the secondary school, kids aren't meant to have their phone on them during the day, so we just keep them in our lockers and everything, which is fine. But once you get into year 11 and 12, you're allowed to have them around, which is kind of fine, because the only reason why you'd really use it in our classrooms or anything is for educational purposes. So I haven't had any issues with that, but I know...
And this is just your school particularly that has that rule?
Yeah. But I know from home, from Tari, where I'm from, there's a rule at one school, I think, where they have their phones, they take their phones at the start of the day and put them in pockets. So they aren't, they don't let, is that what you were talking about, how they don't let them?
I have seen those. I'm sure some people in our audience have seen them. Yeah, I've got some nods. Yeah, so they are actually phone pouches. You put your phone in, you lock it up. Do we think that's a good idea?
I think it can be beneficial. I mean, it's kind of, it seems quite controlling in a way, so that's kind of the hard part about it. But I think, I mean, to concentrate and to get the best out of your school and learning experience, I think it could be beneficial. But yeah, it seems quite controlling in a way.
Will, what do you think? I feel like you have an opinion on this.
Well, yes, I don't have the benefit of hindsight. I go to a school which has a phone ban, and that's been successfully reinforced and regulated in our school. So I don't know about how it's reinforced and how it's regulated in other schools, but I very strongly believe that phones should be banned in schools, and I support the moves that the Queensland Government and the New South Wales Government has taken to do that. And that's for a few reasons. I think, first of all, when you're in the classroom, your primary focus should be on your education. I don't actually think that a phone can enhance your education and your outcomes in school. Look, I don't have the benefit of hindsight, so you may disagree. And there's a few other issues in terms of how it may potentially exacerbate incidents and the effects of cyberbullying. And also, I think for me, I obviously don't go to a school which has phones and you're allowed to use phones, but I think it's just good having 6 hours a day, each weekday, where we are free of the chaos of the outside world, not having to be exposed to it on our phones. And I think that it's really good to have that moment in school where we can just focus on our education and escape from this, what is sometimes a really overwhelming world around us. That's my personal opinion.
Will, as well, we should just say it's a few more states. So it's Victoria, WA, SA, Tasmania and the NT have bans for state schools. And what's your take on this?
Well, you're right there. Pretty much every state, and not necessarily a ban, but they're looking at managing mobile phone use in schools. I do recognise that for some students, particularly those with, for example, continuous glucose monitors, they need to have their phones on them for health purposes. And I think that that's included in how we manage mobile use in schools. But for example, in places where they have, or schools where they have, managed the use of mobile phones in schools, what they've found and what I've heard from them is that they've found that during lunch breaks and breaks, what are they called again, recess breaks, that young people are actually going out.
It's been a while, it's okay, we understand.
I don't even get a lunch break or a recess break anymore. That, they're actually interacting with each other, they're actually, doing physical sport, and they're learning how to interact with each other again. I remember talking to some young people, and we were talking about, after COVID, one of the things they were saying to me was that the impact of COVID on their mental health, but also the impact of COVID on their social skills, and that going out and actually talking and interacting with people face to face was something that they were finding challenging. So in this particular instance, when they removed the mobile phones during lunch and recess, they found that the young students were interacting with each other. So I think, there are times when you should manage it. Sometimes states will take, or schools will take a decision to ban it or manage it, but there will always be cases where some people will need to have their phones with them, especially for health reasons.